Everybody, it's Nick and Travis, and we're coming to you with some information about VO2 Max. Some people hear that and say, "Oh, I've heard a lot about that recently in literature." Some people are like, "I have no idea what that is or why it's important." So we're going to try to do a quick podcast for everybody that's going to touch all different parts, no matter what your knowledge level is on VO2 Max. And by the end of this, hopefully, we're going to get you invested in learning more about it and improving this number. So, Nick, why don't we start out there? So, when I say VO2 max, what is that? And let's define it for anybody, whether they have a science background like us or have no science background. What is VO2 max?
How much oxygen you can use. It really is almost that simple. It's like your body just trying to be as efficient as possible with what it consumes as far as oxygen.
Okay. And so for people like, oh, body consuming oxygen, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what is to me, I'd say like how good a shape are you in? Like, if you go up and down a couple flights of stairs, are you breathing pretty heavy? In which case your body's not doing the best job that it could utilizing the oxygen that it's given. Versus, oh, I can run for like 10 miles before I kind of get tired. Then at the 10-mile mark, I'm breathing kind of heavy. That person is obviously utilizing oxygen in their body a little bit more
And
efficiently.
there's also just the, hey, if you go up a flight of stairs, maybe you're breathing heavy, but then you recover just like kind of flip of a switch versus somebody else is breathing hard for 10 minutes after that too.
Yeah, the recovery is important, which I haven't seen a ton. Nick and I read a ton of research, and we listen to lots of other experts on health, and I haven't heard a ton about that. Why don't you talk about that a little bit? So if you go up like, well, we have three flights of stairs in our Allentown office. If you go up three flights of stairs and you're breathing pretty heavy at the top, but then by the time you get to the office, which is another 40 yards, then you're okay. What would that mean versus you're breathing really hard and then you get into the office and then you've got to sit in the waiting room for like 5 minutes before things calm down? What's the difference there?
Just really, again, it's how, okay, you still are exerting yourself, right? Like either way, you still have to exert yourself. So it's okay to breathe harder for it, right? But now you've actually, when you did breathe hard, your body took that oxygen in and was like, oh, okay, here's what I needed. All the, I'm gonna just say tissues got what they needed out of it. And but like you said, the time you get to the door, you're back versus, okay, that other person still sucking wind, trying to get that oxygen. They're getting it into their body, but they're not making good use of it, basically.
Okay, let's talk briefly about the things that go into VO2 max. So you said the tissues, but what are the organs and systems in our body that we're trying to work on if we're going to improve VO2 max?
So first, I mean, all air just initially going into the lungs. So your lungs, like, are they able to, well, fill effectively, right? And then do they exchange properly too? So it's like, yes, you get the oxygen, well, let's just say air in this case, well, I guess we're speaking oxygen specifically. So do they get enough of that oxygen in, but then is the exchange rate high enough? So do however you want to look at it, like does enough of the oxygen cross over the barrier now to get into the bloodstream so that the heart can effectively shuttle that around the body and then get to the rest of the tissues.
Okay, so how good a job is your lungs doing of processing oxygen, essentially? And from what I've read, that's probably the least uh, like limiting factor. That's actually your lungs are probably doing a pretty good job. It's the other systems that might not be doing that well. So once the blood or gets oxygenated, then what happens?
Now it has to get dispersed around.
Yeah. So that's like stroke volume. Stroke volume is like how much volume of blood your heart is kicking out. So that changes. An Olympic runner is going to have a very high stroke volume. Someone that's sedentary that hasn't exercised in a long time and is sitting around is going to have a low stroke volume. So they're going to have a higher heart rate in order to get blood out to the system. So some people might find this crazy, but take your resting heart rate. So Nick, you probably took that this morning. What was your heart rate this morning when you woke up?
58,
Okay, so 58, somewhere
58 beats per minute. Excuse me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, beats per minute. So if you're in, so Nick is at 58 beats per minute, it only takes his heart 58 beats in a minute to kind of do what it needs to do at rest. If your resting heart rate is higher, it means that you have a less efficient system, absent of some kind of disease process that's going on. If you're fairly healthy, if you have a higher heart rate, then your heart just needs to pump more blood to get the oxygen to where it needs to go. If you have a very low heart rate, your heart is very efficient. So, like biathlon, people that have to do cross country skiing and then shoot at a target, those people have resting heart rates, believe it or not, like in the 30s or sometimes even lower than that. So their heart and their cardiovascular system is so efficient at getting blood to the tissue that it doesn't have to work that hard. So we won't need to go into more detail there, but that's one way that Nick and I use to kind of measure, okay, how are we feeling? How is our body working? Are we under stress? That kind of thing. So there is the heart, and that has to do a good job of working, but it's also the veins and arteries that have to work and how they're dispersing oxygen to the tissue. So as you tend to improve your VO2 max, your vascularity improves. So that just means that your capillaries, which are the smaller versions of the blood vessels, are kind of proliferating, and then you can get more oxygen to different tissues. So probably don't need to go too much into that, but basically it's your lungs and your heart. How good a job are you getting oxygen to your tissue? So hopefully that makes sense. So why do we want to work on this, Nick? Why should this be something of importance, especially as we're starting a new year and people are starting to make some changes in their health? Let's do the sales pitch on you want to have a high VO2 max.
As far as purely physical output markers go, there is nothing that comes close when predicting mortality. That's it.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to explain it is that, hey, if I had this pill and you took this pill every day, it would decrease your chances of dying. And there's no
For
other pill
every
I could,
reason. For
yeah,
every reason.
there's no other pill that I could give you that would have a bigger effect on this metric. And it's exercise. So, and people that are hearing this, like, these guys are physical therapists, they're kind of biased. The data is clear. Like there's a
Nothing
lot of
comes
things.
close.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in science that we kind of debate, especially as you get towards the nutrition side of stuff. But nothing comes close to having a high VO2 max, which means that you're doing exercise, you're moving your body. So let's talk about that a little bit. So someone's out there and say, yeah, okay, these guys are smart. I want to improve my VO2 max. What do I do? Like, what is the best exercise or movement for my body that I can do in order to improve that number?
Let me preface this with, okay, this is for the person who's doing absolutely nothing right now. That's where I'm going to start with what's called zone two training, which basically means you're going roughly like 60% of your max, just like for a long period of time, 30, 60, 90 minutes. Like that's just the base starting point, like where you have to build the engine before you get into what's called like the HIIT training or the high intensity interval training that a lot of people like to talk about.
Okay, so you're talking, okay, 60% of my max. Let's break that down a little more. Is that 60% of your max heart rate, 60% of your max perceived exertion? What is that 60% you're talking about?
Yes. Whatever's kind of easiest for you to measure at the time is they're probably gonna equate to about the same thing. So whatever either of those mean to you is probably the easiest way to measure it.
So if you threw it in the Google machine and you said, hey, how do I know I'm in zone two? There's going to be some kind of version of if you're doing this zone two training, which is just moving, and your heart rate is up a little bit higher than if you're just sitting on your couch, and someone was standing next to you, you could have a conversation with them, but you probably wouldn't want the sentences to be too long. You could get out some sentences, but really your cardiovascular system is at a high enough level where talking is not becoming the priority. The priority is getting blood to the tissues that need it. The way you actually measure it is like lactate testing, which requires you to prick your finger while you're exercising. That's a pain and probably not accessible to most people that are listening to this. So it's basically um, you can find corollaries to your heart rate, but then everybody's max heart rate is a little bit different. We take 220 minus your age, and that can give you your max heart rate. Then you're taking a percentage of that. If you want to do that, I'm okay doing that, meaning take 220 minus your age out of that, and then 60% of that number is what Nick is talking about. That's what your heart rate would be while you're in zone two. Now, some people might do that and say, this is easy. I could have conversations for as long as I want. They might have a higher max heart rate than most people. Some people would do that, and they're like, I'm dying. Like, I can't to have a conversation with anybody. So that's why there's flaws in kind of measuring it, but don't get kind of in the weeds about measuring it. The first thing is like, okay, I'm doing something, and I can have a conversation with someone next to me, but I really don't want to sustain that conversation for a long period of time. Let's talk about the doing something. If someone says, I'll do anything. What should I do, Nick? Like, should I?
Even before that, the one other thing I want to add on that, Travis, is being able to breathe through your nose the whole time while you're doing it. Like that's actually a really important predictor or marker of like still being in zone two. You should just be able to breathe in and out through the nose, not have to go through the mouth at all for that.
Okay, so that's another good indicator for that. So it's kind of somewhere starting out around that. So now people need a modality. So they need, okay, a bike. I can go on a treadmill. I can swim. I can hike. Like, what is the best thing for people to do?
The one that they're going to do. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So people is like, oh, okay, I'm in my VO2 Max. I'm gonna get some running shoes. I'm like, great. You really love to run? No, I hate running. Can't stand it. Like, okay, well, that's not gonna be sustainable. You're not gonna continue with a program to improve this if this is the thing that you're doing. Some people tend to tolerate cycling, like stationary bike, a little bit better. It's typically a little bit less traumatic on larger joints in your body. Swimming, like I can't stand swimming. Like if you told me I had to do a swimming program, like I'll
Well,
just
it comes down
die
to
and swim.
efficiency though, too. Like if you are not an efficient swimmer, this is not going to work for you. Like Travis and I, if we're both swimming, we're going to be 80, 90+% of our max heart rate just trying to go across the pool one time versus somebody else is going to do it for 5 hours and not even breathe.
Yeah, those people are crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like for me, what I've started to do is I just really like assault bike training, or if you guys have ever seen the old Airdyne bikes where you have arm motion with your legs, if you've seen those are coming like back into fashion, which I find hilarious because they're like from the 1970s. And I actually have one, like my father-in-law has one in his basement. I'm like, when you die, I get that thing because it's like, it's not much different than the brand new one that I got from Rogue or wherever the heck I got it from. You're just using upper extremity work and lower extremity work, and I tolerate that, and I don't mind doing it, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Elliptical machine might be something that people do. I mean, really, it's great to just get outside. There's more variability in that. Like the good part about having a machine is you can kind of have settings on it, and you can kind of change the intensity pretty easily with a couple buttons. If you're outside, depending on what happens, if you're going up a hill or down a hill, it can be a little bit harder to kind of
Just
measure,
regulate it. Yeah.
yeah, regulate it, but don't get caught up in that either. Like if we encourage you to go
First
outside,
and foremost, go do something.
yeah,
That's number one.
yeah, and going outside is better than going inside. It just is.
Yes.
So, whatever that works. I know we're in
That's a whole
Pennsylvania.
nother podcast.
Yeah, yeah, we'll follow up on that. But yeah, Pennsylvania in the winter, sometimes it's great. Like, today's nice, but other days not. The important is consistency. So okay, so now we people have gone through. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this. What do I do now, Nick? Like, how do let's say I don't really exercise regularly. If I go up 2 or 3 flights of stairs, I'm feeling it pretty. Like I'm noticing that my breathing is changing. What would be like a protocol that you would issue?
I mean, ideally, you want to start off with like 30 minutes. Sometimes that's going to be too much for people, right? In which case, I'm going to say, okay, if it's 10 minutes, if it's 15 minutes, but really like the sweet spot, you got to get to at least like 30 minutes, 2, 3 times a week. Like that is the baseline, absolute minimum that I think everybody's kind of striving for. And then as you get more, but I don't want to say just efficiently, because you just get in better shape, right? Now you're going to get up to 45 minutes, up to an hour. And I mean, the research says like 180 minutes of that. I'm going to say every day though. Like I'm not. This is one of those like I will encourage you if you can go for an hour walk every day, it's going to be better. Like there's just no way around that.
Yeah, so the, basic guidelines, things that have been in place for a long time is somewhere between 150 and 300 minutes per week of this kind of exercise. So that would be like that zone two training that we talked about. New research has come out, actually came out last year. I wrote a blog post on it. So if you're listening to this, I'll give you kind of my breakdown of that research article. Pretty interesting that showed that higher intensity type training like this is more effective when it comes to all-cause mortality. And if you're really tight on time, like if you don't have 150 to 300 minutes a week, this can be helpful. there's a lot of nuance between, oh, well, I'll just do all high intensity stuff, or I won't do any high intensity stuff. You have to be healthy enough to do high intensity stuff, meaning if you haven't done that in a long time, do not go out and do a Norwegian 4x4 sprint protocol. That's not what we would suggest, which we'll probably do another podcast on. But the point is to start out with whatever you're going to actually do. So, like what Nick said, if it's 10 minutes and you're doing that 3 times a week and you know you're going to do that, start out there. Eventually, you'll kind of get bored of that. Be like, I can do more, and then you'll kind of add to that. Don't start out at 300 minutes this week. I heard these guys say 300 is really good, so I'm going to crank out 300 minutes this week. I'm going to not pay attention to my kids, probably take a day off of work, and we'll get it all in. Like that's not the way to do it either. So hopefully that makes sense. So that's someone who is not used to exercising. What would you say to someone? Okay, I go to the gym a couple times a week. I run, shorter distances. I'm probably doing maybe like 5 total miles a week, splitting it up like 2 or 3 different times in a week. What kind of protocol would you give that person to improve their VO2 max?
Now, to me, the sweet spot for that is probably really if you can like 4 sessions a week where it's like two are similar to this, right? Where we've been talking. It's like that 30, 60, 90 minutes of just like that zone two, steady pace, like just keep moving. And then probably like twice a week of intervals. And that's where we talk like Norwegian 4x4, but like there's lots of different interval programs that you can do. But it's like, yeah, that I think is that good like building up to, and or if you haven't really done that yet, start with two of the zone twos and just start with one of the hits, like get into that for a month or two, and then as you feel comfortable, like add in the second one.
Okay, so the best way to measure progress would be to get a VO2 max test and then do the training and then get another VO2 max test. Not accessible to most people listening to this. How do people know if they are improving? If the protocols that we're giving them are actually helping them improve their VO2 max, if they don't go to a lab and get it measured?
Either the Cooper 12-minute run test or the Rockport walk test. Those are the two simplest at home. You don't really need much of anything besides a stopwatch, and or know how far a mile is exactly.
Yep. So that walking a mile is accessible, hopefully, to pretty much everybody. So that's the easiest test that you can do. The important thing to know there is if you're going to use one form of measurement, don't change when you retest. So if you're using the Rockport and you do a protocol for 6 to 12 weeks, whatever you want to do, use that same test again. Don't use the Cooper test because the numbers on the VO2 max will probably be a little bit off for that.
If you can't run fairly easily 12 minutes, only do the walk test. It's just going to be the easier starting point.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. How fast can people improve? Like, if are people like, oh man, if I do this, for the next 10 years, then my VO2 max will go up a little bit, or is like, oh, if I do this for a couple weeks, it's going to skyrocket up there. What's the answer to that?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually like a week over week progression you can see with this, like changing very much so that quickly.
Yeah, I would say similar to if someone's doing weight training. Like, if you've never touched a weight in your life and you start doing consistent periodized like weight training, like your numbers are going to go up. You're gonna think like, oh my God, in a couple weeks, I'm gonna be at the world record for my weight. It's pretty, which if you extrapolate it out, that can happen. If you've been weight training for a very long time and we tweak your protocol, we wouldn't expect huge changes. So if you're that person that's in the middle, yeah, I'm moving around pretty good right now. I'm doing 5 to 10 miles of running. I'm getting to the gym a couple times a week. That VO2 max is going to go up at a little bit slower rate than someone that is like, I haven't done anything in a while. I'm just going to start walking. You're going to see some huge improvements in the beginning. But the important thing is just that you're improving. Don't compare yourself to other people. You compare yourself to the athlete that you are today, and we compare that to what happens after, 6 to 8 to 12 weeks of training. Okay. I think it's a pretty good summary of VO2 Max. Let's just kind of finish up with, okay, I don't know. Is this really that important? I'm very busy. I have lots of things I've got to work on. I'm not so out of shape. I can kind of get around a little bit. Let's talk to people about the importance of working on this and working on it sooner than later, no matter what age you are.
You need to work on this. Like I cannot stress that in any other way, right? It's Travis, it's just one of those that is so critically important to people that The only people that should be waiting for tomorrow to start this are if you're just like sick right now. Like that's the only reason you shouldn't be doing it just today. It's that much of an important thing.
Yep. So this the exercising that we talked about at the top, if there's like a magic pill that we could give you that would fix a lot of problems, I mean that really is true. The big difference is it's much easier to take a magic pill than it is to do the work of improving your VO2 max. I think that's where the big barrier is. That's why we're trying to tell you guys, start out easy. This isn't like a 6 weeks get ready for the beach type program. Like that's not what this is like, okay, I'm 50 now. I want to be like the most fit of my friend group when I'm 90. So that's 40 years from now. We have a 40-year plan in order to do that. Now, if you're younger, then you have more time to work on it. If you're older, that's fine too. It just might be a little bit. Okay, so you're going to say something. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I actually just love when you look at it like that, right? Uh, Travis, everybody that I hang out with or regularly see does this kind of stuff, right? And here's where it's like kind of what you said. It's like, yes, like I'm planning on trying to compete with other people that are doing this because I see the benefit in it, right? It's like I'm not probably not going to be as associated with people who aren't doing this. So it's like you want to associate with people doing this. Like you want to make this part of your friend group because it's going to help you all out in the future too.
There you go. That's the easiest sales pitch I can give. It's going to take some effort. It might take some change. So it might take, some modification of your current behavior. Some people out there right now, man, I haven't exercised in 20 years. It's too late for me. I can't do it. We would say no. It just might take you a little bit longer to, achieve the goals that you want to achieve. But also remember, like the cards are stacked in your favor. If you haven't exercised in a long time and you start making some small improvements, like your VO2
It's
max is
going to
going to go up.
snowball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, all right. Any information that we covered here, research articles, old blog posts, you'll have access to that wherever you're listening to this. And yeah, hopefully you make some changes, improve your VO2 max, and decrease your chances of all-cause mortality. I think let's bring that into
Yeah.
like popular speak. We working on this week. Well, I'm trying to decrease my all-cause mortality this week, and I'm going to be working on my VO2 max. Sound good?
Good luck, guys.
All right. Thanks, Nick.